the length of the rally. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's time to start selling. It's just we are starting to get quite overbought here in the short term. All right. You can see there the basket of returns by sector. Overnight in Asia, and you can really see what led the way was basic materials and financials. Everything else was a bit of a laggard, but basic materials I think traded a little bit better on the back of Rio Tinto had their production numbers out overnight, and they were quite solid. Their operational report, I think there was a beat on, we'll get to those in just a second. In terms of Asia, we're mixed only with Japan up and the rest of the sector, I think, the rest of the continent and region was down. So, same sort of thing as yesterday, same sort of thing as the day before, though. We're just seeing really light volumes. We're seeing really light movement in markets. And, I think everyone's kind of waiting for this market to capitulate to the upside before we start to see a pickup in volatility again. Right. You can see there Rio Tinto operations review. Iron ore output beat by about 500,000 tons. We also had, half a metric ton. We also had mined copper output, which destroyed expectations. Came in at 146. Expectation was for 115. Coke and coal was a miss, but I don't think anyone cares about coal anymore because it's not very profitable at the moment. So everyone's kind of shrinking their operations there. No capex going in that direction. We got a lot of earnings out today in the States. We got Charles Schwab, we got Coca-Cola, Goldman's, Johnson & Johnson, and Yahoo. Some really important bellwethers obviously coming out today. So I think as we start to get in the meat of earnings season, I think that's one of the reasons also why we're starting to see this taper in volatility and volumes. And I think as we start to see, at least some sort of definition of what this earnings season is going to look like, we'll continue to see that. So just keep an eye on that. I think if we start to see a few, big companies, a few big sectors really start to move in one direction, I think you'll start to see some follow through on the expectations of this earnings season. So just keep that in mind. Watch those numbers closely and watch and wait for a pickup in volume before you really start to commit yourself. All right, we've got a slew of data out today, UK PPI and CPI. We've also got European CPI. We've got the ZEW survey out of Germany, which has been moving markets reasonably lately. We've also got CPI out of the States. We've got net long-term flows in the States, and then we've got industrial production. So nothing huge out today, but something to watch, especially out of Europe. All right, let's get into the maps real quick. All right, first one we'll have a look at is ABSA. ABSA on the year chart, or daily chart, we can look back for the past 9 months or so. You can really see quite clearly defined trend line that we've kind of been ramming our head up against over and over and over. Yesterday was no different. We got above it for a little while. I think we spent some time up there around 145. Really close to 145 is where trend line resistance is. We failed it yesterday. Banks have been failing these trend lines over and over for a month and a half, 2 months now at least, and this one's no different. I think watch this one closely. It's starting to consolidate a little bit more as it's narrowing between support around 135 and kind of the resistance on this trend line. So maybe building up a bit of a long-term flag. We'll keep you posted on that, but just watch it around resistance there. It's been having trouble punching through quite consistently. All right, we'll have a look here at Vodacom. I'll just show you quickly on the 30-day, 30 minutes, and you can really see here how we've kind of been narrowing this range up to 108. We've just really been building for the most part. It's a bit ugly, but but you can see we finally managed to crack through 108. This is a short-term chart, obviously, so we're looking for more short-term results out of this, but I think could kind of maybe punch back up to some of the recent highs, closer to 113, 114, somewhere in that region on this break above 108 in Vodacom. Also, obviously, MTN's been running, so maybe able to start to get some assistance from that. Okay, Amplats, I'm going to back it out to your chart here, and we've been in just a hell of a long downtrend, a long-term downtrend. I mean, you can go all the way back to the beginning of the year, really, to show this downtrend that we've been in. I've been watching this one closely. Every time that's gotten up here, obviously we've failed for quite a long time. Now we're managing to, as of day before yesterday, we kind of made a small breakout, but we really got confirmation of that yesterday. If we zoom forward, if we zoom forward a little bit, you can see here how important this level here at around 295 was. We as we climb, we broke down below it before. As we got back above it, we kind of just treaded water above it before we kind of managed to put in a couple good bounces. And then as we failed it, we stayed under it and tested it not dozens, probably half a dozen times before we finally managed to break out. So I really think that this breakout in Amplats is somewhat convincing. Obviously, yesterday you had numbers out from them on trading statement, and I think that it could potentially go higher in the near term, especially considering that I think there's a lot of shorts out on that stock. All right, Tiger Brands. Let's back out on Tiger Brands a little bit. Yesterday, you can see here we kind of coming back up and really testing trendline resistance again, right on the nose in terms of on a closing basis, intraday basis. The chart looks or the line looks exactly the same. Obviously, slightly higher, but I think you got to be really careful of this one. This thing could have a breakout here. We're getting very close, kind of continuing to narrow into this wedge pattern, and I really think that we get a breakout. If we move higher today, anything significantly higher from here, I think we can consider a breakout, and there can be a hell of a lot of room to the upside here on Tiger Brands. All right, let's look at Imperial. Imperial also, in terms of trend lines, almost kind of putting in a little bit of a wedge pattern. If I take this thing and draw it from the wicks, we have broken out on a closing basis, intraday basis. If I draw it, from a closing basis, it's kind of also broken out, and just narrowly. But I think above 215 here, you might be able to really get into Imperial. Obviously, with the rand starting to strengthen a little bit, and it's one of the more sensitive ones. Needing a stronger rand, so this could be something that could gain a little bit of steam here, especially if we continue to see the rand strengthen at all. All right, let's look at Bidvest. Bidvest here, we've shown this chart a couple times. It was starting to look a bit head and shoulderish, with kind of this being your shoulder here, on left shoulder, this being your right shoulder. It was looking a bit head and shoulderish, but now obviously we've managed to punch through above 248. I don't see any reason why this thing doesn't test previous highs on Bidvest on yesterday's breakout. So I think this could be actually a decent one to have a nibble on today. Could have about $15 upside on it before you have to start worrying about it. All right, and the last one I'm going to show is Rio. I know they had some numbers out overnight. I'll just zoom forward on it a little bit. Very critical level, I think, in Rio that we've come up and we've tested over the past few sessions. You can see here how this has really been the inflection point. At 28.20, it's been the inflection point. We broke down out of this head and shoulder pattern below the 28.20. We've stayed below it for a long time. We're still below it on a closing basis. And you can see there, every time we kind of wicking above, and every time we ended up managing to close below, with the exception of 3 days ago, which had a narrow close above. So this is a really important level, I think, on Rio. If we continue to fail it, this thing could obviously go lower. But watch today. If it doesn't get above today, then I think maybe this is a short. If it does get above today, then obviously probably have a little bit of room to the upside. That's it for today, guys. Thanks a lot.